He knew the truth, and he lived the lie. He knew the truth, and he lived the lie. We come together today to talk about race. We come together under the shadow and the wound of race after all of these years because it is rooted into our very DNA of a nation. We come together to talk about race today because of the shadow that has been cast over all of these years by living a lie and yet knowing the truth. We have come into this conversation today as we put it out in USA Today and the New York Times that we in the United Church of Christ, we were going to talk about race today. We're going to talk about race today because a black man is running for president. We're going to talk about race today because a black man named Barack Obama is running for president, and that black man happens to belong to United Church of Christ, and that black man happens to have a faith that has guided him and grown him and encouraged him all these years in the church, and that church community, that faith community, that community in Chicago that has gathered together African Americans across time now, growing from 65 members to 3,000 members, professing like we profess, all is open, open always. They profess unashamedly black, unabashedly Christian, that they might raise their heads up together, that they might find their voices individually and collectively, and that they might shout out, I am a beloved person of God, and you will know my name. We come together to talk about race today because it's time to profess. We are tired of living the lie because we do know something about truth. We know that this woman who was dealing in purple cloth, she was from the wrong side of the tracks on all sorts of levels. She was a rich girl. You couldn't be a purple cloth dealer without having some cash. This woman was a rich girl. She had her own business. That's right, she was in the wrong body. She was a she. She was a she who had loads of money and a business which gave her power and a voice in the community. This Lydia was a problem. She didn't fit into the way business had to be done. She didn't fit into the way things needed to be. This Lydia was a troublemaker, and all of her neighbors, they made her remember it with every piece of fabric that she sold. Lydia today encounters this Jesus movement, and it opens something within her at last. You imagine her with tears streaming down her face. At last I have found my people who can say my name and look me in the eye and see me as part of the faith of God. Hallelujah, I want your people to be my people. Come and dwell with me. I'll share everything I have. My home is your home. And the disciples, because they followed in the witness of Jesus and they loved this unconditional God, they said, no way. We're not going there. And she's a girl. She's from the wrong side of the tracks. I mean, she might have name brand soap. We can't see her. We're not going there. We're not getting caught up in that capitalism thing. No way. Yeah, she got baptized. We're not going there, but she would not submit. She would not stop. She would not deny hospitality to those she felt called to include at her table. She persisted and persisted. And finally, they agreed to sit at table and to become one with Lydia, the businesswoman, all gathered around table, learning about one another from both sides of the track. We come together today to say we have had enough of living the lie, and we're ready to start talking about the truth. We know that when our Marshallese brothers and sisters come to this country, they leave their beautiful and gorgeous islands and atolls only because we in the United States, our giant white selves, went through the oceans to find those islands and atolls as far away from here as possible, so that when we did those nuclear tests, not 1 or 2, but 48 of them, poisoning their water and their food and the air and the very ground that they walk on, it wouldn't contaminate us. And if we could sucker them into letting us do our experimentation on their people and their land and their water and their fish, that was the price they would pay this radiation fallout after all of these years. And when they come to this country, because we let them come to this country. They don't have to immigrate. We just let them come here. They can't have Social Security, though, and they can't get health care, and they can't reap any benefits from being here because they're not really one of us. We just let them come here. We let them come here to breathe the air that's not radiated like everybody else is breathing back there. Even all these generations later, because we fooled them and we tricked them, and it's their fault. So we bring them here into the land of opportunity that we have convinced them that this is, so they can do our dirty jobs for us, working more jobs than we will work, working the kind of jobs that are too dirty for us and too exhausting for us and that don't pay enough for us. Welcome. Welcome to America. It is time to admit that we are the people who are telling lies. And it is time to say that we need to be the people who know a little bit more about the truth. We know that when our refugees, brothers and sisters, come into this place, some of them have spent generations living in a tent village, fighting for things such as clean water and wood. Things we know nothing about. And we invite them into our nation and we say, we're so happy you're here. Here's 90 days of support. In 90 days, we would not know how to go to the bathroom in their country. In 90 days, we wouldn't know how to cook a meal in their country. In 90 days, we would be upset that the air conditioning still wasn't on in their country. And yet, in 90 days here, we say, you must sleep like we do. You must eat like we do. You must dress like we do. You must shop like we do. And you must value capitalism like we do because, hallelujah, you're now on the bottom. And we have no trouble stepping on you to hold ourselves up. It is time in this country that we start talking about the truth of how it is and not the lies we pretend it to be. We know in this country, when we look out across America and we say that this is the land of opportunity, and then we have trade agreements that devastate whole economic systems in Mexico and Central America, and when we know best for these little countries around the globe, including Central America and Mexico, and we prop up governments there forcing people to have nothing. And when we shut down Ellis Island and we gate our America by building a fence and we force people to crawl in on their bellies, we can feel so triumphant because they'll know their place. They'll know their place like those people that came on those big wooden ships in shackles and chains. They will know their place. That we have dishes to wash and laundry that needs to be done and houses that need to be cleaned because we are America after all.